Yo, what's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint. We're going to go through the new comic book day reviews for Wednesday, December 18th. This is a huge week for comics, probably the biggest week of the year. Make sure that you watch until the end for my pick of the week, so stay tuned. Alright guys, before we jump into the reviews, today is a new mystery box for That SpiderMan Booth. Make sure to go hit thatspidermanbooth.com. Use the code GEMMINT in order to get $10 off their $30 mystery box. It's a one-time per use per customer, so if you used it before, it's not going to work. But if you haven't jumped in or whatever, the grand prize for this box, which runs from today, Wednesday, until Saturday, is an X-Men 1 signed by Stan Lee, the gatefold wraparound cover variant. So that Spider-Man Booth, use the code GEMMINT, you get $10 off and a chance to win that dope book. Alright guys, let's start off with the Marvel books. Today we're going to have the Dawn of X titles first. The first one up we have is Marauders issue number 4. Marauders is probably one of the stronger titles of the Dawn of X books, which deals with Kitty Pryde, who goes by Kate Pryde. And she's basically teaming up with Bishop in this issue. In this issue, we get to see Storm, kind of the newest member of the Marauders, kicking some ass, and we get to see Kate Pryde and Bishop do kind of like a Mission Impossible 007 type of heist, X-Men style, parachuting through buildings and things like that, and kind of dealing with politics, like these hate groups that have come up, protesting against mutants and speaking at rallies and things of that nature, all the problems that basically come with the mutants declaring themselves this sovereign nation. So Marauders 4 was good. Excalibur number 4. This is my least favorite Dawn of X title, but this was the best Excalibur issue so far by far. It was not so much of that Camelot stuff, not so much of that other world stuff. You had a lot of Gambit dealing with the Rogue, who's like in her Sleeping Beauty comatose state. They're also dealing with mutant protesters that are standing outside of the castle and throwing bottles at Gambit, which he doesn't really take too kindly to. But, you know, we finally get kind of the mission to help save Rogue, and Gambit and Earthquake Guy go to the underground to try to find these crystals that Apocalypse has put them onto, kind of like mutant fossil fuels to save Rogue. So that's pretty much what was happening here. I like this issue. Like I said, this was my favorite one out of all the Excalibur issues so far. New Mutants issue 4, we're still dealing with the aftermath of Armor and Gloob's mission to go find Beak. And, you know, what happened in the last issue is that these mutant terrorists came and held that whole family hostage. So this is pretty much just trying to wrap up that story. X-Force number 4 was crazy, man. The ending of this book was crazy, which obviously I'm not going to spoil. But we remember Domino, she was held captive. They were taking her skin off to create these super soldiers or whatever that they're using for assassination attempts and kind of, you know, special ops missions against mutants. But this was a crazy issue. Basically, it's showing us that the humans are not going to let up against the mutants. They attacked Krakoa and they assassinated Xavier. And then we learn now that they attacked him financially. And in this issue, it looks like there's another attack. So definitely kind of explaining why this X-Force team is going to be needed. And it's pretty sick stuff. All right, guys, and the last Dawn of X title for today, this is Fallen Angels issue 4. You know, I was really surprised to see not a lot of people were digging this run. I really enjoy the art here. It's kind of more of a subtle read, not as wordy. It has, I think, really good artwork, and it primarily focuses on the OG Psylocke and X-23. We know that Young Cable is captured, and we kind of get an idea of where this new Apoth villain and his kind of, I forget the name, his flunky, where they come from, and that Psylocke maybe has something to do with it. So it was still kind of like a chill, not really action-packed issue, but I enjoyed it. All right, Amazing Spider-Man issue 36. This is the 2099 tie-in that leads up to the Omega issue. Man, I just did not understand this event at all. I mean, you have all this Doctor Doom stuff, and I'm like, is it tying in with the Doom solo series? Is it tying in with Doom 2099? It's really confusing. And I don't really see how the events of this book affected this 2099 future. I don't know if it was Spider-Man's interaction with Doom that kind of caused or prevented some type of change in the future. it just didn't really make sense, and it didn't really like tie in with any of the one-shots that came out for this run. So I didn't really understand what was going on here, man. That being said, going to 2099 Omega, this is the last issue, the one-shot that wraps up this event, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, I think the only interesting thing about the Alpha and Omega event is Doom 2099's interaction with Uatu, the Watcher. It's pretty brutal stuff, man. He's really got him held captive, like if you remember from Alpha, and we see more of that here. And this one does try to kind of wrap up all the loose ends, and I don't know, it felt kind of sloppy to me. I wasn't really digging the whole event like most people. So, 2099 wrapped up, and Annihilation Scourge wrapped up. Two quick little events. Annihilation Scourge was way better. This issue was pretty dope. I mean, we saw Silver Surfer merge with Bob, who is the human part of Sentry, and become the Silver Sentry at the end of that one shot. So it all tied in together here. The Beta Ray Bill thing, he comes to the negative zone to find Stormbreaker, which he used to push back Sentry from the last issue. So it wraps up nicely. I think this was a better arc, way better than 2099. And I like the way that it tied up. All right, Daredevil 15, Chip Zdarsky, loving his stuff, loving this run, and the fact that this book came out so quickly after the other one. Those monthly waits for this book is too long. I really enjoyed this issue. The Daredevil Elektra stuff, that was dope. Kingpin visiting, not the governor, but the family behind, the family that's calling the shots to the governor. And man, Kingpin kind of not really being so Kingpin-y, right? And they make him look so much smaller too. I don't know if that's intentional, but he looks like a regular dude now. He kind of looks like dude from Law and Order, or like James Gandolfini in Sopranos or something like that. But I enjoyed this issue. Always a good, fun read. Almost taking on a new persona. We're not really Daredeviling anymore. It was a good read though. I definitely recommend this one. Yo, Spider-Man 3, J.J. Abrams, Henry Abrams. This is the most fun in a Spider-Man book that I've had since Superior Spider-Man, the first one, the Dan Slott one. This was almost my pick of the week, but something took the number one spot. This was my second pick of the week. Jaw-dropping stuff, and I guess when you're dealing with like an alternate universe that the stakes don't really matter, you could do whatever you want. So, man, I flipped the page and I was like, what? Like this villain, Carnivorous, yo, he's crazy, man. He doesn't give a what. This is an awesome Spider-Man run. I definitely recommend this one. Best Spider-Man stuff that I've read in a minute. Man, so many storylines and so many runs ending this week, man. This is Guardians of the Galaxy issue 12. This is the last issue by Donny Cates. Poor little Rocket Raccoon, man. He's been beat up so much in this run. And I really like how he ended this run. It was a really nice, fitting ending. And I guess there's going to be a reboot that's written by the same person who's doing Immortal Hulk. So this wraps up the run with the Universal Truth, Church of Truth, Star-Lord's father, and that whole Rocket saga. Awesome scene with Rocket and Groot. This was a fun read. There's trades of this, so I'm sure you could probably wait the whole thing. All right, so we have Revenge of the Cosmic Ghost Rider, issue 1, Donny Cates stuff as well. I really like Cosmic Ghost Rider. I like the whole premise of Frank Castle becomes Punisher, then he dies and sells his soul to the devil to become the Spirit of Vengeance, then Galactus comes, he becomes the Herald and gets the power cosmic, and he lives for millions of years and goes insane and goes back in time. Like, there's a lot going on here. Cosmic Ghost Rider doing his Spirits of Vengeance, penance stare kind of stuff, and we meet an unlikely person at the end, which took me by surprise. I was digging this one. I'm going to keep up with it for sure. All right, guys. Scream, Curse of Carnage, issue 2. I wasn't really looking forward to reading this. I'm so carnaged out right now after Absolute Carnage. But this book has the sickest Null cameo I think that we've seen yet. I think that page that has a full page picture of Null is incredible. I do like, what's her name? Is it Annie? Whoever Mayhem is now Scream. I like her as Scream, and I think what we're doing here is seeing her relationship with her mother and then the symbiote's relationship with this red person in the comic on the cover here. I was pleasantly surprised with reading this one. All right, King Thor issue 4. This is the final run of Jason Aaron's Thor, so another ending here. A very thick, oversized book, a nice fitting farewell. on his run on Thor. You could tell he didn't want to stop writing it. I really like the theme of this book because at first it kind of felt like, oh, this is like an annual, like a kind of a bunch of different Thors, looking at different Thors in the past and the future. But then they kind of explain that it's different stories and everything is just made up of stories, and it was a good way to wrap up his story. It was good, man. I think that we'll probably see Jason Aaron Thor Omnibus. It'll probably be 2 volumes, and I can see them putting this in it. I mean, this is definitely like the epilogue to it. But it was worth reading, man. The 4-issue miniseries was dope. All right, let's jump over to some independent titles. So from Image, we have Family Tree issue 2. Really digging this issue. This is written by our boy Jeff Lemire. Yo, Jeff Lemire. Man, he's going for Writer of the Year. He has so many ideas. It's crazy, man. This basically is like a plague turning people into trees, or right, something along those lines. And at the end of issue 1, we saw Grandpa come through, and he's like a badass, and we get some more backstory on Grandpa, and he's kind of been through this plague with somebody else before, and it seems like there's people hunting down people that are turning into trees, whether they're trying to experiment to figure out what's causing it or whatever. I definitely enjoyed this issue. It was up there with issue number 1. Heart Attack 2 by Image Skybound. This is written by Sean Kittleston. Eric Zawdowski did the artwork. You know what's funny is I compared this to X-Men because it's kind of like an indie mutant title, but they don't call them mutants, they call them variants. And I think like the first line in the book is like, yo, we're like the fucking X-Men. So it was pretty cool, man. You have, you know, these variants that have these powers, but they're not really, they're kind of dull. The powers are not like really threatening or anything, but when this guy and girl got together, they can fly, his hand's on fire, and they have like threatening mutant powers. So it's kind of cool to see this world that they're creating, this place where there's curfews, and a pretty big twist at the end of this issue as well, man. I like this Heart Attack book. Jumping over to Valiant. Shout out to Valiant. They sent us an early copy of Bloodshot issue 4. This starts a new arc called The Long Shot. And I like this. This was written by Tim Seeley. And it reminded me like a Batman book. Like even the art style and the storytelling was very Batman-esque. And it's your typical Bloodshot. He's going up against these type of creatures, and we learn where they come from. They're kind of like these mindless dogs, and we kind of see how they're created. Of course, it's a big bad corporation, like most Bloodshot villains. But I like Bloodshot. It was a good issue. Who do I like more than Bloodshot? I like Roku, man. I'm a fan of Roku. She's a little overpowered, but man, she's got the hair like Medusa. She's got telekinesis. She's a badass fighter. She goes on a mission here. What is it? To rescue a little girl. And apparently some other people were sent to rescue her as well. Kind of like the Mandalorian, right? But I love Roku, man. I think that they really need to get like some good villains, man, for these Valiant people. Because it always seems to be like evil corporations or something like that. There is this badass dude that can turn anything to a knife and like can throw them using like telekinesis or whatever. But I like it. I like Roku. I think there's only one more issue, and this is going to wrap up like a 4-issue series. All right, we're going to move on to some Joe Hill. Hill House Comics, Basket Full of Heads, issue 3. I'm digging it. I mean, I like Joe Hill stuff. Does he write this one? Yeah, he does write this one. So, I mean, we're just continuing the story. She's got that criminal's head in a basket. He doesn't know how he's still alive. She doesn't know how he's alive. They figure out it's the axe, right? We already knew that from the last issue. And it's just kind of more of that. You know, nothing really much happened here except for at the end, which obviously we're not going to spoil. But it looks like she's about to get another head in that basket. So, no, I'm digging Basket Full of Heads. I think it was a good read. I would like to see more of the supporting cast, right? Because in the first issue was a lot of world building. Then issue 2 was just really the girl with this convict. And this issue was kind of the same, except now he's headless. All right, the other one from Joe Hill, The Lolo Woods. This is by Carmen Maria Machado and Danny and Tamara Bonvillian. So this is a new number 1. Very interesting read, man. This kind of takes place, you have these 2 girls, and they live in this town. They're at the movies, and all of a sudden they wake up, and they swear they don't remember what just happened. And it's kind of like you get this creepy vibe. Was it the kid from school that works there that did something to them? Did he slip them a roofie in their popcorn or something like that? And then we kind of get more backstory that this has kind of happened to women throughout time in this town where unexplained things happen to them, and it looks like either they forget what happened for a period of time, or they have these big bruises on them or whatever. And we kind of get more questions than answers, and it's just the first issue, and it ends kind of in a what the F moment. So I'll be picking this one up, man. I haven't been let down by any Hill House books yet. All right, let's go over to DC. We have Doomsday Clock issue 12. Yo, so I was reading Doomsday Clock when it was first coming out for about the first 4 issues. And once it started having like crazy delays, I said, man, forget all that. I'll just wait for a hardcover. Then they decided to publish a hardcover part 1 and part 2, and I was like, forget all that. So then one of the Geminites sent me issues 1 through 11, and I read them like just recently, maybe like last week or the week before. So it was really fresh in my mind, and then we got issue 12, the showdown between Dr. Manhattan and Superman. Finally get this Alan Moore Watchmen universe tied in with the DC universe. All this stuff has been teased since the Rebirth one-shot and the Button storyline and all that. I like the theories that are played with here by Jeff Johns, and I thought it was a really good run. It does kind of tease the possible future for DC Comics, so I'm excited to go on that trip, and I'm excited to talk about this during our spoiler show that we'll probably do this weekend, because I don't want to spoil anything here now, but I enjoyed the ending. I enjoyed the whole story. Speaking of another ending, the City of Bane epilogue, the last Tom King issue on Batman. This is issue 85. Yo, it tied together nicely, man. Now I can see what people were talking about. Like, if you would have read City of Bane in one sitting, it's a good read. I think the beach stuff threw people off, but, you know, we get callbacks to that, and there's a reason why it was there. The chemistry between Batman and Catwoman, I think, is very good. I really enjoyed that. And we get the resolution on what Thomas Wayne and his whole plan, and I think it wrapped up nicely. Let me know what you guys think. All right, Heman and the Masters of the Multiverse, issue 2 out of 6. Wasn't feeling it. Damn, I liked issue 1 a lot. They're dealing with a lot of themes that we've seen before. A multiverse, an anti-He-Man. I always forget Skeletor's real name. Klendor? I don't remember. You know, he's kind of like the good guy and He-Man's the bad guy in this reverse role type of thing. I mean, you have multiple He-Mans. You have the movie He-Man, recent cartoon He-Man. You have Space He-Man, which is like a real thing. It's like, I saw it on the Toys That Made Us recently. But I wasn't really digging this issue, man. And Bueller's going to be like, I told you, those licensed comics. You're the Villain, the Infected, the Commissioner #1. So I was not feeling that Teen Titans one. But when I saw this, I knew by the title, the Commissioner, Jim Gordon kind of becoming the Commissioner who laughs. But, you know, this one is a little bit more realistic. It's not that he got stabbed with a batarang with a G on it and he became the Commissioner who laughs. It was more darker than that, and it was more like, I don't know, subtle. Like, I don't even know that he was even infected. He just was over it, man. And it was a good issue. It was a dope one-shot for sure. John Constantine, Hellblazer issue 2, man. Yo, gotta be honest, I don't know what the hell's going on in this book. I don't know. The dialogue, I'm not with it, and I have to try to decipher the slang they're using, and I don't know who the characters are except for the bartender. I don't know what's going on in this run. I'm probably going to have to drop this one. Legion of Superheroes issue 2 by Bendis. Man, I really liked issue 1. Issue 2 was kind of whack, man. I did not really like this. It was kind of boring. Their whole thing is they finally find Aquaman's trident after like 2,000 years, and very small time talking about that, and then the rest of it was like freaking council meetings. I felt like I was watching the Star Wars prequel trilogy, and like, I don't know, John Kent is just so surprised that there's a Gotham world. Like, what? Like, he wouldn't let it go. Like, come on, man. It's like the whole Earth is literally broken up into these different little ocean globes and destroyed, and you're surprised there's a Gotham world. I'm like, I don't know. It was just kind of boring. I wasn't really into it. All right, Metal Men issue 3 out of 12. Man, I like Metal Men. You know, I think it's kind of just the right amount of fun and action, and I think the ninth Metal Man gives it that little touch of realism and darkness that kind of gives you all the good elements of this book. I mean, I'm not going to say I recommend this. It's the best thing to read. I'm just going to say I'm glad I picked up issue 1 and I'm sticking with it. And it's fun and interesting. It got a little campy here when the whole building... But I don't want to spoil it. You'll know what I'm talking about, though. But, yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun. Metal Men. All right, we got a new #1 from DC, Suicide Squad #1. You know, I'm not a huge Suicide Squad guy. I mean, looking at the cover, I'm like, this team looks kind of weak. Even in the first pages, they say this team looks kind of weak, right? Or I think on the cover they say half this team is going to be killed by the time this issue's done. So basically, you have these like meta-powered freedom fighters that Amanda Waller and company need to take down for whatever reason, and I don't know. Basically, by the end of this issue, you have a semi-new Suicide Squad. It's pretty graphic, though. There's some brutal stuff, man, in this book. Some kind of bloody stuff. I don't know. I don't know if I'll pick up issue 2 or not. All right, Batman, The Last Night on Earth, Book 3, Snyder and Capullo. This is another one that, I am so lost on this book. And I don't know if it's because I'm reading so many different Batman titles, but I remember the end of issue 2 that Bruce Wayne was like in Arkham, and we didn't know if he was really Batman or not, and then he was walking through the desert, and I feel like I missed something before this book, and yeah, they're fighting this Omega Batman now, and there's all these Bruce Waynes. I don't know what the hell's going on, man. I might have to just reread these 3 books back to back because I was lost for real. All right, so the DC Black Label Big Boy magazines. This is Harleen, Book 3. I really enjoyed this whole little mini series. Stepan, how do you say his name? Stepan Sejic. He's a good ass writer and artist. Some of the panels where he does Harley's face, man, looks so realistic. It's an intense, like, romantic type of book, but it's just enough of that and just enough of, like, your regular Batman type Joker, Harley Quinn stuff. I think this is the last book, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good book, man. I think he did a hell of a job. But my boy Jeff Lemire with Joker Killer Smile Book 2. This is my pick of the week, guys. This book blew me away, man. I thought it's so creepy and such a mind fuck, and I just thought this was an incredible book. I think the artist is the same from Gideon Falls. I was too lazy to go check. Y'all need to read this. I don't know if there's going to be another issue. It could kind of end how it ended here, but it's kind of like an M. Night Shyamalan movie in a comic book. We're dealing with a psychiatrist who is going to treat Joker, but it seems like he's getting manipulated and he doesn't even know it. It's affecting his home life. It's really sick. All right, that AC's blasting right in time, and I'm done. It's actually the heat. But yeah, man, that was the new comic book day reviews. It was a ton of books. I can't believe I actually finished them all. Let me know what your favorite book was in the comments below. Make sure to come check us out this weekend. We'll probably go live Saturday night and do a spoiler discussion with a panel of other YouTubers who do comic book day reviews like this. Make sure to check out that SpiderManBooth.com because that new mystery box goes live at, I think it's 7 Pacific today, and it'll run through Saturday, and the grand prize is that X-Men 1 signed by Stan Lee, CGC 9.8. Make sure that you hit that like button before you leave, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel for more daily content. Stay minty fresh. Peace.